Hey traders, to watch this video here for Friday, June 18th. Tomorrow, Friday, is Quad Witching Friday, so that's something to keep in mind. It usually makes trading pretty squinky. We had the FOMC on Wednesday, and today was an in-between, and today was just pretty lousy. Like nothing was following through. I had one decent trade, and that's thanks to Wayne. And that was on, where's the symbol? SNPX, showing you the SPY there real quick. But SNPX had the gap up. It was on Wayne's gap playlist. Hold on, I've got after hours on here. I never really prepare for these, if you can tell. He called a second mouse through 12 right there. And my best sell was, I think, 1279. So pretty good because the high was 1287. But that was a pretty large trade for me. And I'd certainly owe it to Wayne. But overall, most of the day, the market and individual stocks just chopped sideways. It was ridiculous. There was almost nothing to trade, which is fine. You know what? If nothing else, I told everybody in chat today, learning to do nothing when there's nothing available, right? When there's no trade setting up is a skill. And it's a skill that most people don't ever master. So if you sat there forever today and ended up doing nothing this afternoon, hold your head high, because that's a skill that most people can't. They don't have the patience. They get antsy. They overtrade a choppy flat market and nickel and dime themselves to death. So, you gotta hit with size when you got the A+ setups and everything. The market's in your favor, and then during other times, you got to always monitor the market and monitor yourself too. Make sure that you're not feeling antsy and trying to force trades. It sounds stupid, but doing nothing is a skill that most people never acquire. So anyway, what are we watching for tomorrow? Gray, Gray, had this big volume move for over these 2 days right here, right? It went from 450 to the next day hit almost $7, 697. So percentage wise, that's a pretty big move. Then it comes back down and now it's starting to curl back up on pretty good volume. Also interesting that it topped out at 6 today. So over 6 tomorrow. Maybe it makes a run at this recent high of 697. If it gets over that, who knows, right? So we might get a squeeze there. Anyway, it's an interesting chart. RAPT. It always astounds me how a stock, let's see, this was 4 sessions ago. You can see the data over in this box over here when I hover over a candle, right? So 4 sessions ago, this traded 35 million shares. And 4 sessions later, trades barely a million. It's amazing to me when you see interest kind of die off that quickly, right? But anyway, this was on Bounce Watch today. It ended up putting in a green candle. It's super interesting. Today's high 34.21 and yesterday's high 34.34. So if we open under 34 tomorrow, a break of 34, you've got 1, 2 potential catalysts. So let's keep our eyes on RAPT. CAPR, just kind of a nice little mini breakout today. I'm looking for a follow-through day. Some kind of A+ intraday setup is going to be required. WISH, I went back and forth as to whether or not to put this on the watch list, because really chart-wise, you had this big move. Then you had the gap up and it sells off. So this is where it closed on the sell-off day. This is where it closed on the big move day, right? And it's kind of sitting right between those two prices. And you look at this and say, who the heck's winning? Bulls or bears? Well, it went from 8 to 15, and now it's kind of sitting right in the middle for several days. But a lot of people are watching this. I'm switching to 15-minute candles here. You have the most recent high around 1250. Today's high, 1150. So it's certainly interesting over today's high because you've got a half number, and if it breaks 1150 tomorrow, you'll have a half number possible inflection point entry plus a break of today's high. So kind of like a dual meaning break if it breaks 1150 tomorrow, and a lot of people watching it. And one more thing I want to show you. The other day, we called this over the high of day. And so that was over, I believe, 1050. And really pretty nice move, right? It went up over 1150 percentage wise. It didn't take that long either. So when you go back and look at the daily, it's sort of just a neutral chart, but there's enough interest in it that I'm throwing it on the list. All right, SNPX, I just showed you this great call that Wayne made. For some reason right now it's not populating today. It still says receiving up here. So, but it's trading, let's see, after hours at 1072. It looks like it closed at 11. There, what the heck? Well, it didn't populate today. That's really weird. All right, anyway, I'm looking at like my 15-minute chart, and it closed at 11:08. What was this high right here? This high was 10:54. So anyway, it closed up here into this gap. It's really weird that it's not populating today's chart, but anyway, that one's definitely on long watch. It had a, let's go to 5-minute candles. Yeah, see on 5-minute, it'll show you. It held up fairly well, I guess. It had the gap up, the sell off, then the rip. Then I really thought we were going to catch one this afternoon back through the highs, but then it rolled over. So there was no trade this afternoon. But anyway, had a nice trade in it. Today's candle not populating, but who cares? We know what it looks like, and we'll be watching it tomorrow. ALF had the big rip, then the secondary rip. It gave a lot of that back. Then today gaps down. So you kind of have another scenario like, who's winning? Kind of like Wish, right? It's sitting sort of in the middle of its range. If you look at, where it gapped from to where the height was. Let's go to 15-minute candles. So on the gap day, it pushed up and never really did take out the low of day, and then ended up going out at the high of the day, right? The next day, it gapped down and ripped again. And then today, never broke its early high. So it's just one of those, it's going to be as simple as a recent high flyer. If it gives me an A+ setup, I'll give it a shot. On the daily there, I'm kind of, I don't have much of an opinion of it, but it's worth having on watch. Now this one, I'm a little surprised at myself for having this on watch. But I mean, it was getting price target increases. It had some good news after the gap up, and the day after the gap up, it was over 20, and just like that, in 3 sessions, it's down here below 11. I just think this is overdue. I know they announced an offering, but I think this is overdue for a nice snapback bounce. So nothing pretty about the daily, but as a trader, I might get a nice A+ setup and a little mini squeeze bounce, right? I don't know if I'd say squeeze. ALZN. 3 days now it's been trading, and it's red all 3 days. So I'm just putting it on watch for a potential bounce. No trade in it today. We'll see. ARVL had a gap up tomorrow, sold off again today. I'm just looking for a third day play, kind of possibly to turn back up. It did come back down to, kind of filled the gap today. Had nice volume yesterday. So it's on watch, but I'm certainly not in love with it. RCON, another one that I'm just on bounce watch. It gapped up, 5 sessions ago, and opened at 1576, went to 1750, and then fell apart, and then it's been bleeding lower ever since. It's just another one that's kind of overdue for a snapback bounce. None of these are investment advice. I'm a day trader, right? I'm in cash every night, so keep that in mind. ALT had the big rip yesterday, much lower volume, quiet inside red day today. I'm looking for a third day play there. And then lastly, speaking of oversold, I don't know what happened here. UTME, it's only been trading since April 6th, right? Had a big 2-day rip. And then today, I don't know what happened, but completely fell apart. Look at the range on today. The high was $75, over $75, and the low was $14.81. It closed at 16. So again, not a pretty chart, but it might give a decent snapback bounce tomorrow. All right, so it's as simple as that. That's what I'm looking for. I think I've covered them all, and hopefully, again, I never know what does quad witching mean. To me, it could mean chaos or it could mean complete boredom, but it's not my favorite scenario. Kind of like post FOMC, I don't really love trading the FOMC afternoons. I don't really love trading quad witching Fridays, but 8,000 plus stocks are trading every day, so we could certainly get some individual stories and some nice A+ setups. So I'm going to do what we teach our students to do. I'm going to only trade A+ setups, or I won't trade at all. All right. Anyway, done babbling. We'll see you guys in the morning.